JRE number 1284. Could the Great Pyramid hide evidence of forgotten human abilities or something even more mysterious?
Well, I think people can develop these patterns of behavior that are destructive with anything, whether it's with alcohol or cannabis or,
Yes.
sex or anything. People get in ruts.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't mean that the cannabis is bad. It means that you are on a bad mental path.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm not encouraging it for everybody because some people it genuinely biologically doesn't jive with them.
Yeah. But the fundamental thing is we as adult human beings need to take responsibility for our own lives and our own decisions. And we need not hand that responsibility over to governmental institutions, especially when it concerns something as intimate and personal as our consciousness. And my view is the ancient world had the right attitude to this kind of thing, and the modern world does not, and that we can sit down and learn a lot from the ancient world. A lot of people ask me, Hancock, you've been arguing that there's been a lost civilization in the human story, but what sort of civilization do you think it was? Well, one of the things I think is it was a civilization that used psychedelics. I think it was a civilization that emerged from shamanism, but did not stay at the hunter-gatherer stage, but that took the essence of shamanism and integrated it into a very different kind of civilization from our own, which pursued things in different ways. A lot of archaeologists have said to me, but we don't find any plastic bottles from the Ice Age. That means there was no advanced civilization during the Ice Age. Well, hang on. Maybe an advanced civilization might have decided never to get involved in plastic in the first place. Maybe there would have been a clear choice not to make plastic. Maybe they did things in completely different ways. Maybe they cultivated powers of the human mind that we dismiss and regard as completely unimportant. Woo-woo.
Yeah, this is the thoughts about Egypt, correct?
It's about Egypt and about other things. I mean, the specific example I give is above the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid are 5 further chambers. And these chambers are roofed and floored with granite beams that weigh about 70 tons each. And there are hundreds of them. And these 70-ton granite beams, which to put in context, a 70-ton beam is equivalent in weight to 35 large SUVs. These 70-ton granite beams have been elevated to a height of more than 350 feet above the ground and carefully and precisely placed in position. It is very hard for archaeologists to explain how that was done using purely leverage and mechanical advantage. You can say, perhaps they built a ramp and hauled the stones up the ramp. But then you have to confront basic laws of physics. You can't haul a stone weighing tens of tons up a slope that exceeds 10 degrees. Then you start doing the calculation. How long a ramp do I need with a 10-degree slope to get to 350 feet above the ground? And the answer is you need a fucking long ramp, which should still be there, because it couldn't have been a sand ramp. It would have collapsed under the weight of those stones. It had to be as massive as the pyramid itself. So this begins to seem like an absurd idea, the idea that is foisted on us by archaeology. Maybe the idea that they regard as absurd, namely that psychic powers were cultivated by ancient civilizations, that they could use powers of the human mind that we have allowed to lapse, maybe that idea deserves further consideration. We have gone down a path of leverage and mechanical advantage. We're used to relying on machines, but we hear anecdotal reports of people who have telekinetic powers, who can move things with their minds, of people who have telepathic powers. And our automatic reaction is to just dismiss all of that because science says it's impossible, because science regards consciousness as local to the brain and doesn't see how it can exert itself outside of that. But maybe we should open up to those possibilities, that we're dealing with a very different kind of culture that used techniques that we have allowed to lapse. And maybe we could wake those techniques up again. Maybe the ability of human beings to do almost superhuman things is resident within all of us, but sleeping.
Well, it's pure speculation that they use some sort of a telekinetic power, but it's
pure
absolute,
speculation.
But it's absolute that they did something that we don't understand. If you think about the distance between us and the construction, just the modern accepted construction dates of the Great Pyramid, it's more than 5,000 years ago, or close to 5,000 years ago.
Great Pyramid is supposed to be about 4,500 years old,
That's really old.
It's incredibly old,
To think that someone back then could do something that would perplex us today with modern machinery.
Yeah.
And that somehow or another they figured this out. It's almost like what they had done was leave behind something that was so stupendous, so monstrously impressive that it would transcend time.
Yeah.
And that you would have to look at it even thousands and thousands of years later and say, hey, like this defies
Yes.
conventional explanation. This is not a simple, and I've seen some of the conventional explanations of the construction of the pyramid, and they conveniently neglect those chambers above the king's chamber.
They do.
They conveniently neglect a lot of those massive stones.
Yeah.
And it's because it's one of those things you just go, oh, I don't know. What is this, Jamie?
They're the chambers
is,
above
yeah.
above the king's chambers, and each one of those floors is consists of a row of 70-ton granite blocks that have been raised 350 feet above the ground, and not only that, but brought from Aswan in the south of Egypt, 500 kilometers south of the Great Pyramid. So
if there's any time in history where you could go in a time machine and go back and observe, would that be the time?
I am just completely fascinated by the Ice Age at the moment.
If you had one shot to go back and see what it was like in some place, you wouldn't go to the construction of the Great Pyramids?
I think right now where I'd go is 12,800 years ago in the beginning of the Younger Dryas.
Just to see.
Because I think that's where the whole human story changes. I think that's where we change tracks from one path to another path. And following those cataclysmic events of the Younger Dryas between 12,800 and 11,600 years ago, following those, the signs of civilization that we see emerging are not the beginnings of civilization. They're a restarting of civilization that had existed before the cataclysm. And for that reason, I would like to be present during that cataclysmic event, if only to satisfy myself that it was indeed a comet. You see, the one thing there's no dispute about anymore is that the Younger Dryas was a cataclysm. You can't argue about that. The megafauna that die off, the disruption of human activity that takes place at that time, the huge climate changes. This was a cataclysm by any standards. Where the argument still goes on is what caused the cataclysm. I vote strongly for comet, multiple fragments of a comet hitting the North American ice cap and hitting Greenland as well. But there are other researchers in the field, like my colleague Robert Schoch, who thinks that the sun is more involved. This is healthy. This is very, very healthy, that we should be approaching this problem from many different perspectives and trying to figure out what the fuck caused this extraordinary event that occurs at a pivotal moment in the human story. The end of the Stone Age, the beginning of the Mesolithic, the end of the Ice Age, the beginning of the current age of the Earth. And suddenly we see these signs of civilization appearing, and in places like Göbekli Tepe, those signs already include highly sophisticated knowledge. And that's why I feel we really need to investigate the Amazon. There are three places in the world which are really lacking in the investigation right now. One of them is the Amazon, 5.5 million square kilometers, very little archaeology done. Another is the Sahara Desert. The Sahara Desert, tough place to work. I can understand why there's little archaeology done there, but the Sahara Desert was green during the Ice Age. It had a completely different climate regime. We should consider the possibility that missing parts of the human story are there. And then under the continental shelves, because sea level rose 400 feet. These are three domains that archaeology has largely not investigated, and it has largely not done so. They say, well, why would we spend the money on marine archaeology? It's much better to spend it on looking for shipwrecks rather than looking for signs of a lost civilization, because we archaeologists know there was no lost civilization. So that's the argument for the resources there, and the same with the Amazon, and the same with the Sahara Desert. Very places in the world that those amongst us who are charged with the responsibility of interpreting the past have not looked at are the very places we should be looking at.
Some say one shooter, others say a hidden operation. The Kennedy assassination still feels unfinished.
So let's find one that we disagree on. I think you believe the official story of the JFK assassination, do you?
More or less, yes.
More or less.
Yeah.
My belief, and this changes over time, I think that Lee Harvey Oswald was in on it. I think he was a part of it, but I think there were multiple people that were in on it. That's what I believe.
Do you think there are multiple shooters?
Yes. And one of the reasons why I believe that is because of the formation of the single bullet theory. And the single bullet theory was formed because the fact that they had to account for one bullet that hit the underpass, ricocheted off, and put some man in the hospital. and that before that they did not have an explanation for why all of these bullet holes, all these wounds were in all these different people's bodies. The other reason why I'm inclined to believe there's a conspiracy was the fact that they found that bullet on Connolly's gurney when they brought him into the hospital. It's too convenient, and the bullet itself is fairly pristine. Now, knowing as much as I know about bullets from personal experience of hunting, you can't hit anything with a bullet. I pulled a lot of bullets out of animals. When you shoot an animal and you hit bone, those bullets, they distort brutally. I mean, they don't look like that after they go through two people and hit all sorts of bone. That's the bullet that came out of Connolly's body, or Connolly's gurney, excuse me. And that's the bullet that they're attributing to this single bullet theory. If you look at the path of the bullet that goes through Connolly, or goes through Kennedy and then goes through Connolly, that to me is not unbelievable. It's not unbelievable.
That one is. But you got to look at the other one.
But even that one. But no. See what I'm saying? Even that one is not unbelievable. It is believable to me because I know that bullets do strange things when they hit things.
Right, but you got to combine that with the fact that the bullet came out fairly pristine, which means it didn't actually go through a kind of a bouncy path like that.
Right.
It went through a straight path. This diagram is from a
conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, essentially.
Yes. But
there are other diagrams that will show the actual path with him. Like, they've got the butts there on the same level, and you know that Kennedy was actually sitting above
elevated.
Connolly.
Yes. So see if we can find one that has the actual seating arrangement, or more accurate seating. Well, the one right there with the red line in the right-hand side, the one on the right-hand side, that's a more accurate.
From above, yeah.
Yeah, from above.
Yeah.
There's also the fact that there was particles. There was more metallic particles from the bullets, more fragments from the bullet in Connolly's body than were missing from the bullet. I do not believe that was the bullet, and I think that is a very reasonable assumption.
Well, you know what you should do? You should get one of those guns, get the same bullets, get some ballistic dummies with some bones inside, and start shooting.
They've already done that.
Yeah.
Penn and Teller did that.
Yeah, but some people have done it, and they have found pretty close to what actually happened.
No, they didn't.
Within the round.
No. Every bullet that hit bone got distorted. That's just what happens. When you shoot those bullets into water, or you shoot those bullets into like fluff or something like that doesn't have a lot of impact to slow the bullet down, then you get a bullet that looks like that. If you shoot a bullet into bone, they distort wildly.
But the bone was the last thing that it hit.
But it doesn't matter. It's still hitting bone.
But it stopped at that point.
Yeah, but I mean, didn't it hit bone in Kennedy's body as well?
Went through his neck, didn't it? So
the odds of it hitting only soft tissue, and it's going to go through his neck, and it came out here, that it didn't clip one of his vertebrae or something like that, I don't think that's real.
Yeah.
I think also there's a difference between, and this is fact, from David Lifton's book, Best Evidence, which was a book by an accountant who went over the Warren Commission report and found all these factual inaccuracies and all these contradictions. He found that there was a difference in the autopsy report at Bethesda, Maryland, the Bethesda Naval Hospital, versus what they had reported on the scene in Dallas. The first doctors that got a hold of Kennedy's body in Dallas before they flew him to Bethesda said that the hole in his neck was an entry wound. When they got to Maryland, they changed that to a tracheotomy hole. They changed the impact, and they said that this was not an impact from a bullet, that it was from something else.
Yeah, someone said they enlarged the hole to insert a trach tube.
Yeah, well, I think, there was also a lot of pressure on these people to try to wrap this up nice and tight and say that Lee Harvey Oswald was the shooter.
There was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's this big thing about the CIA inventing the FBI? The FBI, inventing the term conspiracy theory was a CIA thing.
I think it was the CIA.
Yeah, and this was a couple of years after the assassination. There was a memo that went out where they were concerned about all these conspiracy theories that were coming out. And they used the term conspiracy theories, and then they said they should try to basically debunk them and make the people who spread them around look like conspiracy theorists, basically.
Right.
So the theory is that the term conspiracy theory came from that particular memo. But that memo, they never actually encouraged people to use the term. But there was a huge concern from the CIA that they would lose the trust of the public if everybody started believing that it was a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
At least that's what they said. I mean, maybe there is a conspiracy and maybe they're just trying to cover it up. But
did you see the most recent dump of information on the Kennedy assassination that Jack Ruby had stated to people that before the day of the Kennedy assassination, keep an eye out today, there's going to be fireworks?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, those Jack Ruby, who eventually wound up shooting Lee Harvey Oswald in front of the police officers.
Yeah. But, something like that, there's no... he's dead, obviously, so you can't ask him what he actually meant. And things like that take on a special significance after an event.
True.
Whereas he could be just talking about, like, he was going to go visit his ex-wife or something, or he was going to go to the bar, or he was looking forward to shouting at the parade or whatever.
Right. Could have been nothing.
Yeah, people say things, and, after something happens, people go back and they look at everything that happened, and then they say, well, that sounds like something significant.
Right.
Like with the Vegas shooting, there was a woman walking around the crowd in the Vegas shooting saying, you're all going to die. At least this is what some people said. And this was like half an hour before the actual shooting itself. So people take that event, and then, since a lot of people did die, they think that this woman actually knew what was going to happen and she was trying to warn people.
Right.
But you also get crazy people wandering around saying things all the time, especially in Vegas.
Yeah, and the problem with "you're all going to die" is that's a common one. Some guy was yelling that. We took pictures of him when we were in Vegas long before the shooting. It was a few months ago. We were we were in a car, and he was standing on the corner, and he had a stack of signs. I put it up on my Instagram. I know I did, because there was stacks of signs. He had not just one sign, but he had like a long totem pole of signs with all these different things, and I was taking photos of it, and the guy was yelling out, "Everyone's going to die." I mean, he was yelling it out, that, God's wrath and all this, crazy religious stuff.
That's a common thing for crazy people to shout.
Yes.
That's what they do shout.
It's not like this woman was saying specifically, someone is going to shoot everyone at this concert, get out of here, this is a dangerous area.
If she was trying to warn them, she would have been a bit more specific.
Yes, very specific, right? If she knew something. Do you find it? No? I know I put it up there because we were mocking it. Maybe I put it on my Instagram story and it went away. I don't think so, though. I think it's there from, I want to say it was at least 6 months ago. But we were mocking this guy because this guy's got a lot of fucking signs. Like, one sign's not enough. I go, this is the reason why Twitter only has 140 characters for motherfuckers like this.
I think I remember it was like July because it was like 120 degrees out too, wasn't it?
Yes, it was very hot.
Really
This goofy asshole had this giant stack of signs. So the back to the Kennedy thing.
Yeah.
What do you think happened? Do you think that Lee Harvey Oswald probably acted alone?
I think he probably acted alone. I think the physics of what happened is fairly consistent with the single shooter theory. Now, admittedly, the magic bullet is a bit strange, but I don't think it's out of the bounds of possibilities.
I do, because of the fact that the metal particles. There's more bullet fragments in Connolly's body than were missing from that almost pristine bullet. And even though the fact that it hit Connolly at the very end, if it went through all that flesh and it didn't hit any bone until it hit his wrist, then it would not have been compromised very much ballistically. It would still be going incredibly fast. It still would have smashed into that bone. It did enough to break his wrist, and it would have distorted the bullet. That's just what happens with bullets.
See, unfortunately, I don't really follow JFK conspiracy very much. And the reason I don't is that there are already, I think literally over 1,000 books on JFK.
I've read a few. I got into Case Closed. That was Vincent Bugliosi's book. Is that who it was? But I was like, this guy's got an agenda. It just didn't. There's many books that you could read about the Kennedy assassination, and some of them favor the conspiracy, and some of them favor the assassination. I think a lot of them have merit on both sides. Mm-hmm. One thing that drives me crazy was people say that you could never make that shot. That's fucking bullshit. That's bullshit. This is why I know it's bullshit, because it was only like a couple hundred yards. Yeah. Like a couple hundred yards, shooting at something the size of a person's head is easy.
What about Jesse Ventura trying to do the three shots, getting 3 shots off?
He didn't know what he was doing. Look, I mean, first of all, if you were used to that rifle and you practice that, someone said, oh, the scope was off. I think that's bullshit too. The reason why I think that's bullshit is because it's easy to knock a scope off. You have to have a direct chain of evidence between the time Lee Harvey Oswald had that scope shooting that rifle, the moment he shot that rifle, and then you have to hand it off to someone who checks the scope right then. Because if you drop a rifle, the scope goes off. Just drop it. I've done that before. I dropped a rifle once when I was hunting in Wisconsin, and my scope was off by 6 inches at 100 yards. Just dropping it. So the idea that he could have never made that shot because the scope was off. Scopes get adjusted. That's what happens when you drop a scope. They move. That's a whole thing about ballistics. You have to check them. You go to the range. You set up a lead sled. You lay the rifle down so it's perfectly stable. You squeeze off a shot. You use the binoculars. You find out where the shot hit on the target, and then you adjust the scope. They're adjustable. So the idea that his scope was no good is crazy. The idea that shot was too far to make, insane. It was I think it was less than 100 yards when they think he made the first shot, which is a chip shot. That's a shot that you would make without even a rest. Now he's making this shot resting on the window, so he's perfectly steady. The idea that was impossible is crazy. The idea that no one can do that in 3 shots, that's been disproven. Someone can do it. Someone who's really good at reloading and loading can do it. Just because Jesse Ventura couldn't do it, but Jesse's super conspiracy-minded.
Yes.
Like, he goes all in with the conspiracy theories.
That's the motivated reasoning part of things.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's doing it just for his show or because he really believes it.
I worked with the same people that did his show. The reason why I did Joe Rogan Questions Everything is they wanted me to take over Jesse's show after he was done, and I was uninterested. I was like, I'm not that guy. I'm not like the I believe every conspiracy guy. I think people have a real weird vested interest in proving that things are a conspiracy. I'm interested in finding out what things really are, like legitimately what they really are. Yeah. And even if I'm wrong, like I'm not interested in reinforcing things I've already said. If I find out that what I said was wrong, I'm interested in repeating that I was wrong as many times as I can to get it out to as many people as I can.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Because I think it's important. Yeah. So this JFK thing, there's bullshit on both sides of it. But the idea that this guy who went over to Russia, married a Russian citizen, came back here, he was absolutely involved in some shady, weird shit with Cuba. He's a fucking weird guy. Lee Harvey Oswald was a weird guy. The idea that he was completely innocent, I'm not buying that either.
I don't buy the idea that it's proven that he acted entirely alone. It's entirely possible that there are other people who were helping him or motivating him or giving him instructions even. Yeah. The thing I don't think is really proven is the additional shooter theory.
It's not proven, and there have been people that said they heard things from behind them. The problem with that is chaos. When you have gunshots, first of all, gunshots in an area like Dealey Plaza, the echoes ring out, and people claim to see things and hear things, and they even believe themselves. If you tell someone that you heard something in the bushes and then you run away, that person will say, I heard something in the bushes, and then other people will repeat it. It becomes the narrative, and it just gets real hard.
Can create memories.
Yes.
JRE number 1322. A strange theory suggests mushrooms may have accelerated human evolution. Did something alter our minds millions of years ago?
I wonder who the first fucking monkey was to figure out how to skin an animal and wear its skin. It had to be like in the monkey days, right?
It feels like it'd be a couple generations away from the monkey days, don't you think?
Maybe it was
I just can't imagine a monkey doing that.
One mean motherfucking chimp, and they were going north, and there's one dude who always annoyed him, so he kills him with a rock and then uses the rock to take his fucking skin off and wears it to freak everybody else out. But then he realizes it makes him warm.
Oh, yeah.
And he can go a little further north.
Uh-huh.
It's like a movie.
Okay. I like it.
See the movie? Can you see that scene?
I can see that. That's what the entire movie leads up to.
I wonder when the first monkey figured out he could kill an animal with like a tool. Like the first, like Australopithecus or one of those primitive humans. When the first one was that stabbed something, stabbed a rat or a rabbit with a stick. And went, holy shit.
Right. I can just use this tool.
Yeah.
What other tools can I make?
I'm going to start eating.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat good. Because if you didn't have a weapon, how hard is it for a person to kill something with your hands? What are you even going to get? What are you going to catch? What the fuck can you catch with your hands?
Well,
you can't catch a squirrel.
You'd be
just your hands, no tools.
You'd be hunting and gathering mostly.
But,
I mean gathering, I would say.
Yeah, you'd be eating shit that you found on the ground.
Yeah. That's primarily what you would eat, and then once in a while you'd get something, an animal. But then you're right. They obviously had to figure out different ways of getting animals.
Well, it's one of the shifts that they think took place that allowed the human brain size to double over a period of 2 million years.
Oh, really?
Human brain size, apparently, I was listening to a Terence McKenna lecture on this once, and he was talking about how the human brain size doubled over the period of 2 million years. It's one of the biggest mysteries in the fossil record. And his idea was that they had discovered mushrooms, and that the chimps over this period of time, or the monkey people, whatever the fuck they were, ancient hominids, had discovered mushrooms after the climate had shifted. And he backs it up. He did back it up. At least he's dead now. He backed it up with some climate data that we know from core samples and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He thinks that they experienced climate change where the rainforest had receded into grasslands, and that this gave birth to the rise of ungulates like cows and deer and things like that.
Yeah.
And they would shit. These mushrooms would grow on their shit, and then they've observed a lot of these monkeys in the wild picking up cow patties and looking for grubs and beetles underneath it.
Oh, I see.
And they think they might have experimented with the mushrooms, and that if they experimented with psilocybin mushrooms, a lot of things could take place once they realized that it was not just a viable food source, but also provided them with a bunch of different benefits. One being their vision. It increases visual acuity.
I know. It's so weird.
Especially in low
true.
doses. Yeah. So it would make them see things better. Two, it makes them hornier, makes them more communal, and it makes them more creative. And all those things possibly could have given birth to language and to a lot of other things. They also think it's possible that creativity could have enabled them to start hunting. That they started using tools and thinking and trying to figure out ways around stuff, and trying to figure out how to make an effective weapon to kill something at a distance. Like, the more they're thinking and becoming creative, the more that stuff's enhancing them. And this period of 2 million years is like a pretty profound jump for the human brain size. They think some of that also came to do with our desire to kill things with weapons. But once we started hunting and eating meat, we got way more protein, more bioavailable protein. It was healthier for the animal, for the human animal. And then we also started to try to figure out other better ways to kill these animals, which made us even more creative and competitive.
Yeah.
And they think that all these factors might have taken place that turned us into a person.
That's pretty amazing. 2 million years. Yeah, it's just like a deviation.
Well, you know what's even crazier? 65 million years ago, we were like a mole.
Oh, yeah.
People were like a little shrew. That's our
right.
ancestor.
That's right. I remember that. What's the name of that thing?
I don't know, man.
I think it's the Snorfgarificus. Snorfgarificus.
I think you're right. Say it again. One more time, please. I'm going to write this down. It was like a weird little mole thing.
Crispus. That's what it is.
Yeah. It's a little tiny rodent.
Yeah, because I did a podcast, or no, I toured with...
What is it, Jamie?
It doesn't say.
Oh, there it is.
I don't know.
The earliest of, what is that word? Eutherian mammals was a small rat-like creature depicted in this illustration that lived 145 million years ago. Wow. In the shadow of the dinosaurs. So that rat-like creature apparently survived the earthquake or the asteroid impact. I don't think that's the thing, though.
There's a formal name for it. I know because I was on a podcast and they were one of the segments of it. They talked about this thing.
But the only reason why I'm skeptical is because it says 145 million years ago. But I guess maybe they survived the impact. Scroll back up to the top of the title says, these rodent-like creatures are the earliest known ancestors of humans, whales, and shrews. Oh, okay. That's what's even more crazy. Like, we used to be a whale. It's like, or our ancestor. We shared a common ancestor, I should say.
Yeah, we went into the sea and then stayed on land.
That fucking rat became a whale. What?
Maybe that's it.
Eutheria, there it is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That turned into a person, folks. Think about that when you're setting your rat traps.
I know.
100 million years from now, rats might be some super superior human form.
I think that's very possible.
But I mean, I get why Christians are skeptical now. I'm like, what do you, show me your work. God made this. God didn't. I was not a rat. I was not a rat, sir.
JRE 1481 with Adam Egget. Did Stanley Kubrick secretly leave clues in The Shining about the moon landing?
I remember that the first one I ever saw as a kid was The Shining, and that's still
that still holds
some
up.
terrifying
Still
moments.
holds up. That's an interesting one, right? Because Stephen King didn't like it.
Yeah, that makes sense because it is wildly different from it's a huge departure from the novel.
Yeah.
So I can imagine if you're an artist and then someone takes your artwork and they completely change it in many different ways.
They changed it a bunch of ways, but they kept it a bunch of ways too. It became like a collaboration between him and Kubrick because it was clearly his original idea, but
Yeah.
he wanted, I believe, Stephen King wanted that character to go crazy. He didn't want him to have this fucking edge, like right from the beginning. Like Jack Nicholson had an edge, like right from the beginning, and then became insane, and then became.
Well, I know what it's like, to be an alcoholic who just stopped drinking, and I think you have that edge almost from the get-go.
Yeah,
a little bit. But I mean, Jack's Jack.
That movie was so good.
It was top 10 all-time fave for me.
That's what's crazy. It's like someone needed to tell Stephen King, like, I know it wasn't the same thing, but god damn, it was good. It was so good. Dude, when those little girls are in the hallway and the fucking blood's coming out of the elevator, holy shit, that's a good movie.
So many great moments. I love.
And back then when it came out, like, people don't understand. Like, The Shining is, like, what is that? 82 or something like that?
1980, I think.
Is it?
I think so.
Is that what it is? Yeah. So 1980, people, you've got to understand. We're talking about a whole different world.
Yeah.
There's no special effects. If there are they're not very good. They're all like clunky
you
looking.
had Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, but it's clunky.
Yeah.
The special effects are clunky. I guess Empire Strikes Back is pretty fucking dope.
And then Alien was 79.
That's right. All right.
But
my
that's it.
argument's falling apart.
Blade Runner was 82. So there's really not much else, though.
But
there is a lot of clunky.
So they did this movie with just all
Sets.
all of the different crazy moments, like that bathroom moment with the axe coming through the door. There was so many of those moments. The moment with the old lady.
Because Kubrick was a fucking master at creating suspense and using the sets and the color contrast. Like, just the color patterns are unsettling. And the fact that he used those twins weren't twins. They were just little differences. That makes it unsettling. There's so many different ways.
Do you know he used to do complex mathematics for fun? That's how he unwind.
What a genius.
He was a trippy dude,
He is
man.
by far, I think, the greatest director of all time.
Well, he definitely is one of them, and one of the most unique ones. There's a crazy conspiracy theory connected to The Shining and the moon landing.
Yeah, I heard about the moon landing.
Yeah, it's all about the number on the door is the exact same amount of thousands of miles. It's 237, and it's 237,000 miles away.
I heard
but also,
that,
by the way, it varies. See, that's the problem with that argument, is that like the distance between the Earth and the moon is not constant. I think it moves a little bit. So I think it goes as far as 265,000 feet out, or miles rather, 265,000 miles out, and it goes to 237. But I think it varies. I think it goes like this. I think it has like an elliptical orbit around the Earth a little bit. Maybe I made that up. Is that true?
It sounds accurate. Sorry, I was in the middle of reading the 237 stuff.
Yeah, I heard it was also possibly about Native Americans, how the hotel was built on an ancient Indian burial ground, and even Shelley Duvall sort of looked Native American. You could hear Native American music playing in the opening credits.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's many layers to it.
Yeah, he's just a brilliant man. He was a brilliant man.
The little kid did have an Apollo 11 sweatshirt on.
Yeah, that's true. He did have an Apollo 11.
I mean, that's pretty on the nose.
I just remember in the back room, in the stock room, there was like a can of a product with a giant. It was like Geronimo's head on there. I'm sure.
Dude, there's so much to that. There's probably many layers. Kubrick is not going to operate on one layer.
No,
he's probably going to have a bunch of weird shit in there.
I mean, look at 2001. What a mind fuck.
Oh my god. What a mind fuck.
Yeah.
Well, there was so much of his work. And he's the guy that the conspiracy theorists, when they get the most crazy, when they really want to dive into who did it, they think it was all Kubrick. That Kubrick literally filmed the fake moon landing,
right.
uploaded it to the American TV satellites.
If
and
anyone could do it, it'd be him. He'd be the guy I would get to do it.
Can you imagine if that was really what happened?
I've heard all
these years.
I remember hearing all the fucking conspiracy theorists about the Illuminati killing him because he made yeah.
Well, they were worried he was going to open his fucking mouth.
Well,
Tell
he made
about
movie.
the moon landing.
Oh no,
that's what it was.
No, because he made fucking
keep his fucking
Eyes
mouth
Wide Shut.
That too. That was his last one. They're like, enough. This guy's getting too close.
Because I think he died like a week after that movie came out.
Of course he did.
That's fucked up.
That's how they roll.
Fight Companion, February 17th, 2019. Eddie Bravo claims the idea of aliens might be preparing us for something much bigger.
You guys are going to hate me for this.
What?
You know what I want? I want one example, Eddie, of why we should believe the Earth is flat. That's what I want.
Are you kidding me?
You son of a bitch.
I want it so bad, and I am high and drunk.
I don't. We can
And
talk
you
about
guys want
flat
it
Earth
too.
as long as it's a joke and it's funny.
I'm
Because
cool.
if it gets angry,
Dude,
then it's not fun.
I'm not married to that.
If it's
round.
if it's jokey,
I'm not married to it.
Eddie, I want you to
Jokey.
Convince me that it's flat.
There's no way I could do that, man.
God, really? There's not one example?
It takes about a year and a half of like one.
Year and a half? That's too much.
Very hard. The indoctrination's so strong. You look at your son's cartoons, it's all space. I look at all my shit, all the shit my son likes. His everything is there taking space.
Star
I'm doing
Wars.
research on this currently.
Space.
I want to direct everyone to hashtag space is fake because I've been doing research on
check
space
that
being
out.
fake.
Check
Is that real?
out.
That's a real site?
Yeah, hashtag space is fake is something I'm investigating for my next hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm for legitimately looking deep into
Dude,
people
flat
that
Earth, there's
flat
so much
earthers
material
mock
there.
them.
There's
Flat
so-
Earth is like, what? Space is
No,
fake. What?
no.
You dumb
You flat
motherfucker.
earthers like
Flat
flat
earthers
earthers
walk
chill.
away
No,
from
it's the same thing.
Oh, okay.
You got it all wrong. You got it all wrong.
Is
Well,
everybody
Eddie,
think-
I've
believes
got to
the flat-
think this is not very organized.
No, what I'm saying is
I got to think I
everybody
couldn't
that
have it
thinks-
all wrong.
No,
There's
everybody,
way.
anybody that thinks the Earth is flat, they totally don't believe what we're taught about what's above us. So when
the
people
sun?
say space
Wait a
is
minute.
fake, they
What about the
mean-
sun?
They mean all the stuff, information we're getting. You're lying about that shit. That it's not that it doesn't exist. Of course it exists. We see
Right,
it.
of course.
But space is fake sounds ridiculous. Like there's
something
we're
up
looking
there.
at it and it's fake. That's ridiculous. That's
just
not what
the
it means. It
Truman
means
Show.
that all the information we got about all
We're
those
off.
lights in the sky.
Yeah, something else?
They're lying
NASA's
to
lying?
us. They're lying to us.
Why would NASA lie?
And there's a reason.
well,
and
why
I can sit
wouldn't
here
they,
and tell you,
Brian?
but you guys don't want to hear it.
Hold on.
wouldn't they?
So I
We'll
don't
give
want
you-
to talk
can you give
about
us the cliff notes?
the Cliff Notes are man.
Have you studied any kind of a?
He doesn't need to
from-
be. Let's hear just a few of it.
The goal has always been for the most powerful emperors is a one world government. They always wanted a one world government. All the Roman emperors, they try to figure out, they try to do different combinations. How about and they would fall, and a new emperor would come and go, you know what? I'm gonna fucking rule
World
the world
domination, in other words.
Aztecs.
I'm not gonna let my soldiers get married. That way we'll have a stronger army. They have different philosophies. Everyone believed different shit. But they all wanted a one world government. There's no way to have a fucking one world government. Nobody's into that shit.
Right.
Not even other rulers from small countries are like, one world government, that's going to put me out of a job. Fuck your one world government. People that don't know shit about politics don't want a one world government. There's no way you're going to sell a one world government. It's impossible. The only way to make a one world government work is to have the people embrace it. They have to want it because nobody wants it. So the trick is to make people want it, to embrace it. There's only one way.
I gotta pee.
There's only
Hold
one
on,
way.
Joe. This is very
You're gonna
important.
miss
I've
out
heard
on
this. I know this.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
The
That.
only way, and they've known this forever. The Vatican knew this. The Vatican, the Pope wanted to rule the world. They all knew it, but they couldn't do it. They all knew it, but they knew one way, but there's no way how they're
What's
going to
the
pull it
one
off.
way, man?
The only way is if there was some extraterrestrial threat from up above us. That would be the only way to have everyone embrace the one world government. They all knew that for years.
But it didn't work
That's
so
the
far.
plan. They could never
It's a
make
shitty
it
plan,
work.
though.
They didn't have the technology 500 years ago. The Vatican knew about it. They wanted it. And you go to the Vatican, you see paintings of like
Have you been there?
UFOs with aliens in them. And back when I used to believe in UFOs, but before I figured out that UFOs they want us to believe in UFOs. They're preparing us for a fake alien invasion. That's always been the plan. A one world government. The only way to do it is to get us to embrace it. And the only way to embrace it is from an alien attack. Ronald Reagan talked about it many times at the UN, CFR. He talked about it because wouldn't it make, he looked at all the leaders of the nation, of the world, and said, wouldn't it make our lives easier if we just had some, some kind of extraterrestrial threat? He said that shit. He said that in front of the UN. Like he's trying to get everybody into
I don't think he ever said that.
No, he said that many times. It's on video many times.
Ronald Reagan?
Ronald
Ever
Reagan.
heard of him, Brian? Ever heard of him?
George
a lot of
Bush
speeches.
was vice president.
Right.
He was talking about, and there's many videos of him saying, what lies before us. He's in front of the nation doing a State of the Union address, saying what lies before us is the opportunity to forge a new world order, an order. Because he's talking about like,
Do you think that means the space is fake?
Yes.
No. When people ask me, why would they fake space? It's always been about a fake alien attack. You can't have a fake alien attack.
I've never heard a politician ever talk about a
You can't have a fake alien attack
though.
without space.
But I've never heard a politician
You
talk
have to have
about
space first. So they always, who promoted space more than anybody? Who wanted
Nazis.
Who wanted
Scientists.
Nazis?
Russians.
But before the Nazis, who wanted
Cavemen.
space?
Aztecs.
No, the Vatican.
Mayans.
The Vatican. They have all the biggest. They have all the astronomers. They're all Jesuit Vaticans. All of them. All the ones that are giving us this information about space. They all come from the Vatican. The Vatican has the most
But the
powerful
Vatican said
telescope.
that the
You
Earth-
know what the name of the
Wait a
Vatican
minute. The
telescope
Vatican
is?
doesn't have the most powerful
Yes,
telescope.
they do. You know what its name is?
What
too?
is it
The
called?
most powerful telescope, the Vatican. And you know what name it is? I've
What?
done the research on YouTube.
on
I have the
YouTube.
links. You know what the name of this? Do you know
Isn't
what the
the biggest
name
one in
of
Chile?
this? The most powerful telescope in the world. It's in the Vatican.
What
Do
is
you
it?
know the Lucifer?
Lucifer's
What?
dick balls.
Lucifer?
Lucifer's dick and balls.
I've never seen this fucking telescope.
Yeah, it's legit, dude. I think the biggest one's in Chile. I think they have to be in high
It's in
altitude.
the Vatican.
Yeah, I don't think it's in the Vatican.
You guys didn't. So when people ask me, why would they fake all this shit?
Well, I don't think that's the biggest telescope,
This
Eddie.
is just a crazy theory.
It certainly is.
We're
Now,
talking
I've
a
never
theory.
heard-
Here's
It's
the
funny.
thing.
It's a funny theory.
But Eddie, these new Chile Very Large Array telescopes that they're creating are fucking gigantic, and they
These
take
guys
over
know.
enormous pieces of land.
Listen, I
For-
was with you.
Google
I
the
was with
Very
you.
Large
Listen, I was with
Array.
you. It's called the Very Large Telescope. I watched the documentary with you at your house. It was like 2001, and
Yeah, I
it said in
think-
5 years
Yeah.
they're putting there's a documentary about them putting together the Very Large Telescope in Chile, and they're talking about by the year 2005 we're gonna have 3 telescopes linked with a computer to make us. We're gonna see further into space than ever before. None of that shit came.
What are you talking about?
None
I
of
think-
that shit came.
Is that
They
up?
said-
Is the Very Large Array up yet? Nope.
It's a very
not up.
large telescope. It's
But I
all-
know they
all
have
images-
they have them in Hawaii. What's
Isn't
that?
it weird? Isn't it weird that every space documentary, all the series, I had them all, Joe had them all, we watch them all the time. I try to remember all the shit about a neutron star and a superhypernova. I was balls deep. Me and Joe
Hypernova.
were balls deep into space. And then every now and then we'd watch this documentary after documentary. Morgan Freeman got the universe. We had
Yeah, that
all
shit
that
was
shit.
good.
I DVR'd all that shit. Anything that said space.
Will Smith
I was
has a new
fucking
one.
ball. I thought I was better than people and shit because I knew so much about space. And every now and then I'd watch all that shit and wonder what. This is all cartoons.
Eddie, why not?
This is all
hold on a
cartoons.
second.
And then I go, okay, whatever. And then I keep watching. All DVDs on space are all CGI. There's nothing real. And everyone watches that. They believe it. The narration is all programming. What's above us and what we're on, we're being lied to. Once you go flat, you never go back. Listen,
This is a campaign.
Listen, they're lying to us about everything,
Yes.
dude.
Who is
it's not
they,
about.
though?
It's not about.
Who are
it's not
they,
about
Eddie?
belief.
They
Eddie,
are
here's the one
they.
thing. This is the one thing I want to say.
Okay.
It's like it's not that we believe something ridiculous and you don't believe it. We're gullible. We're gullible. We believe some weird shit about the flat earth. We believe some weird shit. You don't believe it, you're smart. It's not about that. It's about we actually don't know what we're on, and we always say that. We don't know, but based on all the shit that we got by the mainstream, we don't believe that.
Here's what I
you
think.
believe that.
I
so
think-
it's not that we believe something crazy and you don't because you smell it, the bullshit.
But isn't there a
It's like
scientific-
you-
isn't there a
we look at
scientific
it different.
tradition?
We look at
Eddie,
it totally
what they
different.
told
We
you,
look at it as
Brian.
you believe
you use
all
this-
the
hold
shit
on,
from
Bubba,
NASA.
you
Hold
use-
on. And we don't
I'm
believe
finished.
any of that
Yeah,
shit.
but you use
so
that.
we don't
wait,
believe
wait,
that
Eddie,
shit.
you use that microphone. You use a cell phone, right?
It's science.
Hold on.
I believe in it.
That's science.
I believe in it.
Okay, why do
I
you believe in that? And
because
why don't
I
you
don't
believe?
need a study. I don't need to read something to verify.
But you
It's
benefit
not
from
scientism because
science.
I experience
You
it.
benefit from
I know
science
it.
every day.
I know. I love
listen,
science.
why wouldn't you believe
wanna-
that
I
those-
think we
I
got
love
to cut
science.
this off. It's 10 o'clock.
Man,
love
we gotta
science.
get out of here.
I
It's 10
love
o'clock.
science.
Come see me in Vancouver at the Vogue Theater and in Salt Lake City at Wise Guys, March 1 and 2.
I love science too.
I
And,
love science. I don't want to fight. I want to laugh about it. I'm an idiot. I believe in flat Earth. I'm crazy. That's all you need to know.
JRE number 2010. Mark Andreessen discusses secret Cold War operations and mysterious evidence that makes people question whether humanity has been misled for decades.
Historically, California has been the world leader in cults for a very long time, and I would say that has not stopped, and that continues.
Did you know that the building that I bought for my comedy club initially was owned by a cult?
Fantastic.
It was owned by a cult from West Hollywood called the Buddha Field that migrated out to Austin when they were being investigated by the Cult Awareness Network.
God, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Are they gone or are they still there?
No, they're gone.
They're gone?
There's a great documentary on it called Holy Hell. You should watch it. It's pretty bonkers.
But they're from California.
From California.
The People's Temple, part of this great story of San Francisco is the People's Temple, which became famous for Jim Jones, where they killed everybody, killed everybody with poison Kool-Aid in the jungles in Guyana. That was a San Francisco cult for like a decade, right, before they went to the jungle. And everybody talks about the jungle. Nobody talks about the San Francisco part.
So are there a bunch that are running right now that are successful?
Big time. Yeah, totally.
Really?
Yeah, oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah.
Do you know?
There's cults all over the place. I know a bunch of them, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
And how are they run?
Well, some of them are older. There's two sort of groupings. There's sort of 60s cults that are still kind of running.
Like which ones?
There's There's one called The Family in like Southern California that's still going from the 60s.
Really?
There's a bunch of them, running around. There was a big cult for a long time, sort of cult-ish kind of thing around. What was it? Not Erewhon, but Esalen. So there's still like that whole orbit.
That's the psychedelic groups.
All that stuff, yeah. That's from the 60s. And then there were a bunch of sort of tech cults in the 80s and 90s with names like the Extropians. There were a bunch of these guys. And then more recently, there's a lot of this. You'll hear these terms like rationalist, post-rationalist, effective altruism, existential risk. Long-termism, they sometimes say. And what you find is the people associated with these tend to be very smart. They tend to be very prolific. They tend to do a lot. Many of them are involved in tech, and then they end up with, let's say alternative living arrangements, alternative food and sex configurations, and lots of group-oriented, behavior. And it's like, what's the line, right? What's the line between what's the line between a social group that all lives together, that all has sex together, that all eats the same foods, that is not a cult, that engages in lots of at some point they start to form belief systems that are not compatible with the outside world, and they start to kind of go on their own orbit.
Do they generally have a leader?
There are generally leaders. There is a pattern.
Yeah.
I think he talks about it in the book Chaos. There typically is a pattern. It's typically a guy.
Yeah.
There's typically there's a male female dynamic, right, that plays out inside these things that you kind of see over and over again. And so they often end up with more women than men. For mysterious reasons. There's usually some kind of leader. Although, the other thing's happening now is, a lot of modern cults, or kind of quasi cults, there'll be a physical component, but there's also an internet component now, right? And so the ideas will spread online, right? And so there'll kind of be members of the cult, or quasi members of the cult, or quasi members of the quasi cult that'll be, online, and maybe at some point they actually come and physically join up. So, and by the way, let me say, generally I'm pro cult. I'm actually quite pro cult. The reason, it's the same reason I'm pro fringe, right? Which is you're going to have, if you're going to have people who are going to be thinking new things, they're going to tend to be these kinds of people. They're going to be people who are on the fringe. They're going to come together in groups. When they come together in groups, they're going to exhibit cult-like characteristics.
What you're saying resonates resonates. Everything you're saying makes sense. But how did you get to these conclusions? Like it seems that like accepting Fringe and accepting the chaos of San Francisco, like, oh, this is good. This is a part of it. This is how this works. This is why it works.
Yeah.
Like, how did you develop that perspective?
Well, it's just, if you take a historical perspective, it's just like, okay, I mean, it's like, just an easy example. If you like rock music, it just basically modern rock and roll basically came from the Haight-Ashbury in the basically mid to late 60s, and then from Laurel Canyon, which was another one of these sort of cultish environments in the mid to late 60s. And there was like specific moments in time in both of these places. And, basically all of the great rock and roll from that era that determined everything that followed basically came out of this. So, do you want that or not?
Right.
If you want it, that's what you get. I'll give you. Here's a crazy. There's the other book about Laurel Canyon that's even crazier than Chaos. It's the book called Weird Scenes in the Canyon. Okay, you would love this one. So Laurel Canyon was like the Haight-Ashbury of Los Angeles, right? So Laurel Canyon was like the music scene, the sort of music and drug and hippie scene of Laurel Canyon is actually where the hippie movement started. There was actually a specific group in Laurel Canyon in L.A. in about 1965. There was a guy named Vito Polikas, and he had a group called the Freaks, and they were like a nonviolent version of the Manson cult, and it was all these young girls, and they basically would go to clubs, and they were the ones to do the beads and the hair and like all the leather, like all the hippie stuff. Like they got that rolling. And so like they were in Laurel Canyon, and then Laurel Canyon, it was like ground zero. There was like this moment where it's like Jim Morrison, The Doors, and Crosby, Stills and Nash, and Frank Zappa, and was it John Phillips, and was the Mamas and the Papas, and the Byrds, and the Monkees, and like all of these like iconic bands of that time basically catalyzed over about a 2-year period in Laurel Canyon. The conspiracy theory in this book basically is that the whole thing was an op, and it was a military intelligence op, and the evidence for the theory is that there was an Air Force military propaganda production facility at the head of Laurel Canyon called Lookout Mountain, which today Jared Leto owns and actually lives
so I was just going to say that.
Yeah, but it was in that era in the 50s through the 70s, it was a vertically integrated military. Yes, it was a production facility for film and music.
But by the way, have you met Jared Leto?
I briefly, yeah.
One of the most interesting guys I've ever talked to.
Incredible, and it makes total sense.
Totally normal, like really fun to talk to. Not like what you would think of as a famous actor at all. Yeah. I had dinner with him and drinks. He's a fucking great guy.
But he lives in a military...
he showed me all the pictures. He showed me. I'm like, this is wild.
Yeah, so...
it's amazing.
If you believe the moon landing was faked, this is where they faked it. Like, this is...
I thought they were supposed to do it in the Nevada desert.
No, these are the sound... Because they had sound stages. They had totally contained sound stages. They had full sound production capability. And so the theory goes, basically... there were 3 parts to the conspiracy theory. So one is they had the production facility right there, right where all these musicians showed up. 2 is the musicians, like a very large percentage of these young musicians, were sons and daughters of senior U.S. military and intelligence officials.
Including Morrison.
Including Jim Morrison, whose father was the head of naval operations for the Vietnam War at the time. And there were these other, I forget which ones, but there were these other musicians at the time where their parents were like senior in like military, like psychological operations. And like that's all real, like that's all documented. And then third is the head of the Rand Corporation, who was one of the inspirations for the Dr. Strangelove character in the movie. So he was the guy doing all the nuclear planning for nuclear war. He lived right in the heart of the hippies in Laurel Canyon. Whoa. In this famous house that's still there. And so the theory basically goes that the anti-war movement before the hippies was basically a square movement. It was all these basically young people, very clean cut. The men were all wearing, if you look at old like Vietnam War protests, like everybody's all like dressed up like they're going to a business meeting. It was like, and it was developing into a real threat. And so the theory is the hippie movement and rock and roll and the drug culture of the 60s was developed in order to basically sabotage the anti-war movement.
Wow.
Right. Which basically is what happened, right? Because then what happened is the anti-war movement became associated with the hippies, and that caused Americans to decide what side they were on, and then that led to Nixon being elected twice.
Which was also a part of chaos, because that was the idea behind the Manson family and funneling acid to them. The facility was equipped with a soundstage, screening rooms, film storage vaults, and naturally a bomb shelter. During its 22 years of operation, Lookout Mountain Laboratory produced approximately 6,500 classified films for the Department of Defense and the Atomic Energy Commission, documenting nuclear test series such as Operation Greenhouse, Operation Operation Teapot and Operation Buster Jangle.
So one of the conspiracy theories. Okay, here's another conspiracy theory. You've seen all the grainy footage of nuclear test blasts that
Sure.
with the mushroom clouds, and there are always these grainy things, and there's all these like little houses lined up and these little trees lined up, and it blows everything down. Well, there's always been a conspiracy theory that those were all basically fabricated at this facility, that those bombs actually were never detonated, and that basically the U.S. military was basically faking these bomb tests to freak out the Russians, to make us think that we had weapons. We had basically a potency to our nuclear weapon arsenal that we actually didn't have at the time.
How did they fake it?
They just did. Yeah, exactly.
So this is
exactly.
it?
Well, so there's a yeah. Okay, so here's the question, right? So what happened? Okay, so this is great. Okay, you'll love this. So what happened to the camera?
You son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. What happened
How
to
is
the
that
camera?
happening yet the camera is like totally stable and fine?
Oh my god!
And by the way, in the film is fine. The radiation didn't cause any damage to the film.
Oh my god!
This looks like how you shoot
And
a movie
and by the way,
miniature,
okay, we'll do
like-
this one. We'll do the loop one more time here. Let's see the car.
The
Where's
car's
the car?
right behind the house. It just showed up.
Oh,
Okay,
it just showed up.
So wait a minute. First
It
of all,
wasn't there.
First of all, where'd the car
No
come
car.
from?
No car.
Second is, does it really look like
Car.
does that look like a real car?
That's insane.
And look at the and look at when the house blows. Look at the wood. Does that look like those are full size giant lumber beams as they go flying? Yeah.
That's
Is that-
hard to say.
Is that a house or is that like is that a 12-inch scale model?
What?
Right. So like
The fucking car.
anyway, I don't know. Like I have no idea. Having said that, if that was fake, it was faked at Lookout Mountain.
Wow.
Right, at the exact same place and time.
But did they have the kind of special effects to do something like that in the 40s?
Different one.
Well, so the full conspiracy theory is it was Stanley Kubrick, which again I have no idea.
Boy, that does look fake.
There's also the camera didn't move at all either.
You know what it looks like? Go back to that real quick. It looks like the smoke is too big. Watch when it hits. Like the volume, like the size of it, it looks small.
I mean, you've seen.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it looks like we're looking at something that's like a few inches tall.
Well, so
Not-
if you watch like making of Star Wars, any of the any movies before CGI, whenever they do anything like that, it's always with these tiny models.
Yes.
And they just basically what they do is they slow it down and then they add sound.
Yeah, this looks fake as shit.
Right.
The clouds just don't look realistic.
Right.
Like it looks like they're too big and they move too quickly back and forth.
Let's get another one. It's like okay, what the camera's fine.
That's hilarious.
Oh, there's a good. Yeah, here we go. Okay, there maybe the camera got. Okay, but even still, the camera got knocked over and not destroyed.
Is there a like some sort of a response to that? Have they come with some sort of an explanation?
Not that I know of.
That seems so vague.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, who can tell?
Does that make you wonder about other things?
Well, I mean, it's like in our time, right? It's like how much stuff do you read in the news where you're like, okay, I know that's not true.
Right.
And then you're like, okay, everything I read in the history books, like I was told it was true. It's like, yeah.
It was definitely that one though was really weirdly compelling.
There's another video of them setting up these houses, which I mean, I guess you could make after the fact and say, this is fake, but this is here them setting it up.
Yeah. You just do the
real size houses.
Do the sleight of hand.
Huh.
I don't know. I assume this is all not true, but it is fun to think about.
Why would you assume it's not true? The camera alone, like this alone, like where is the fucking
I'll look
camera?
up what
Where's
they said
that
about
camera?
the camera. Because they have to have an explanation. Someone must have asked them at some point.
Or nobody asked.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, it might be one of those. Wow, look what they did. We know the Soviets did it too.
Yeah.
Yuri Gagarin, when he was in that capsule in space, you can clear if you see the actual capsule and then you see the film footage that was supposedly of him in the capsule. There's like two different sources of light. There's shadows. The camera somehow or another is in front of him. This big ass camera. There's no room in the thing. Like they filmed it afterwards and it looks fake. Like I'm sure he really did go into space, but that wasn't it. That was some weird propaganda.
Garry Kasparov has a theory. This is a theory there are missing centuries.
What?
Yeah. Kasparov has the theory that there are centuries that didn't happen.
What do you mean?
Well, just literally centuries that, like, this whole idea of the Middle Ages lasted 1,200 years or whatever is just, like, not true.
Really?
Yeah.
Why does he think that?
There's something about the, whatever, is there like enough historical evidence to support it? And, various people various authorities over time who wanted to tell various stories about how long, regimes had been in place or whatever.
Oh, so he thinks it's exaggerated.
Yeah. Basically, not as much time has passed as we think.
Well, that's quite possible,
And,
right?
how would we